time is now 5:51 p.m. Board of Commissioners have been in work session since 4 p.m., and it is now time for us to go into executive session. Can I entertain a motion from a board member?
Madam Chair, move to go into executive session.
Second.
There's a motion by Commissioner Devine to go into executive session. It's been seconded by Commissioner Clyburn. At this time, we'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those that oppose say nay. The ayes have it. The vote is unanimous. Let the record reflect all board members are present for executive session. We will go into executive session to discuss the following: the Office of Human Resources, HR personnel updates, administrative hires, 3 of them, and hiring of personnel. At this time, the board will recess until 7:00 p.m. Thank you. Good evening again, everyone. Time is 7:02 p.m. Today is June the 27th, 2023. This is the regular scheduled meeting of the Richland 1 Board of Commissioners. The board was in executive session up until 6:00 p.m. That motion to exit executive session was done by Commissioner Devine. It was seconded by Commissioner Clyburn, and the vote was unanimous to exit executive session. In executive session, we did discuss HR personnel updates, administrative hires, and the hiring of personnel. At this time, we are in our public session. We'll call this meeting to order, and we'll begin with 8-1, which is our invocation being provided on tonight by Commissioner Jamie Devine.
Good evening, everyone. Let us bow. Dear Heavenly Father, we beseech Thee tonight. We ask that You come into this meeting, that guide our minds, guide our thoughts. We ask that as You provide the vision to this board, that the administration would carry out its mission each and every day. Thank You for our administrators, our teachers, our students, this community, for all that we do together as a community to come together. We ask You to bless now each one of us that's here on this dais as we continue to do Your work, Your will, and Your way. And bless those now, Father, that have been bereaved. We lost several of our employees this past year. We ask that You continue to take care of their families. We thank them for the work that they've done. And now, Heavenly Father, we ask these and many other blessings in Your Son. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Commissioner Devine, for providing our invocation on tonight. At this time, we will call for the adoption of the agenda. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop and second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote, and we're going to do the vote electronically. Okay? Let the record reflect that the agenda for tonight's meeting has been approved. The vote is unanimous. Let the record also reflect that all board members are present and in attendance on tonight. We'll now move on to 8-3, which is our public participation. This is where individuals can sign up for agenda or non-agenda items. You do have an opportunity to speak to the board for 3 minutes. At your 2-minute and 30-second mark, we do ask that you start concluding. Our parliamentarian, Commissioner Devine, will be our timekeeper. He will cue you at your 2-minute and 30-second warning that you have 30 seconds remaining. The board will not respond to you on tonight. However, we will respond to you in writing within 7 to 10 business days. On tonight, we have 2 individuals that have signed up. We ask that as we call your name, you step to the mic. Our first person is Miss Latasha Tace. Tace, yes.
Hello, good evening, Chairwoman Harris and the respective board members. To the constituents of Richland County, my name is Latasha Taste, and I am the Senior Director of Strategic Partnerships with Communities and Schools. We come before you today just to say thank you. Thank you for your partnership for Communities and Schools of South Carolina. We've been in this community for over 30 years, and it was with great pleasure that we just continue to extend our appreciation for allowing us to come in your community. We work with countless principals at 5 schools, in addition to going into the Horrell Hill community on next year, and we're just really excited about continuing to serve serve your mission and continue to reach the students that need that additional support and families to provide those wraparound services. With me on today, I also have Dr. Claudia Aldemar, who's the Senior Program Director, who will also give some remarks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And again, we won't respond on tonight, but we're going to waive that and just say thank you so much for being a part of Richland One's family. And Dr. Aldemar, I was about to introduce you. Next we have, but thank you so much, Ms. Tace, Dr. Claudia Aldemar.
Thank you very much. So yeah, I'm just here. I won't take a lot of time. I just want to support my colleague. I am the Director of Programming for the Midlands region, and I support the Richland One area. We are 5 schools going into 6 schools. So this year we had the pleasure of serving over 3,500 students in those schools, and 262 of those students received individualized, specific services for themselves and for their families. And so those are some of the outcomes that we had this year working in the Richland One School District, and we appreciate you all very much.
Thank you so very much for being here on tonight. Y'all can give it up for community and schools. They're part of the family. Thank you for your service. We'll now move on to the consent agenda. And at this time, before we read these items in to any board member, are there any items we need to pull out separate? Commissioner Devine?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I ask that we pull item 9.05, please.
Okay. Any other board member? Commissioner Bishop?
Madam Chair, can we pull item 9.01, June 13, 2023 minutes?
Absolutely. Any other board member? Commissioner Lomanak?
Thank you, Chairman Harris. Could we pull, 904 and then 909 and 910?
Okay, and 9:10. Okay. All right, we're gonna read in first, we'll start with the 9-1, which is let's do the items that's not called out.
Yeah.
So we're gonna do 9-2, which is the contract extension for high-speed printers and copiers lease. We're gonna do 9-3, which is the contract extension for facilities, material repair, operating MRO, and industrial supplies. We're gonna do 9-6, contract extension for Renaissance Star Assessment Software Solution. We're gonna do 9-7, contract extension to provide American Sign Language ASL interpreting services. 9-8, which is an extension for the monthly trunking and tower fee services. And 9-11, which is a contract extension for the fire alarm and detection monitoring, maintenance, and support service. 9-12, extension to provide surveillance, equipment, maintenance, repair, and support services. 9-13, the extension for the MOU School Crossing Guards, City of Columbia. And 9-14, which is our May 2023 financials. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for
approval.
second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers and second by Commissioner Clyburn. We'll open the floor for any questions or discussions on any of the items that I just read in. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. And either we will take one collective vote for all of them, for the items that we read. We're gonna go back and do 5 of them individually.
Okay, that's what you're doing right now.
Right, the one big collective vote that the board doesn't have any questions on.
Right.
Okay? And we're gonna do that electronically? Okay.
Yep.
Let the record reflect 9-2, 3, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12, 13, and 14 have been approved. The vote is unanimous. We'll now move on to our 9/1, June 13, 2023 minutes. Commissioner Bishop.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Wanted to ask a question of our attorney before this vote, or this is taken into action for a vote. Is that okay, Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Attorney Borkins, the board minutes, when we vote them in on the consent agenda, they become the board minutes. And I know I'm just making it simplified, but this is the board minutes. Everything that is stated is record and it has weight, or is part of the board's meeting, correct? That is correct. I think that's what you said. In last meeting, under item 8.1, Madam Chair, there was a statement by one particular board member that I was not in alignment with, or something that I did not support, as a statement that we were, as a board, misrepresented, or the statement was a misrepresentation to the board. I don't think that should be a board statement. It should be the statement of that particular board member. So, Attorney Borkin, can it be stated on record that that is the statement of that board member instead of the statement of the board? Although one board member said that statement?
Are you hearing me?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
There are two alternatives. One, the section 30-4-90 describes what goes into the minutes. And you put this information, whatever is recorded, it goes into the minutes. So if a member, or if a member makes a statement and the board does not embrace that statement for whatever reason, a motion could come forward tonight asking that statement, or suggesting that the statement does not reflect the will of the board or the board's conclusion, but it represents that individual, and that if should the motion carry. But short of that, paragraph A4, any member of the body can add whatever information they want to add to the minutes. So a member can say, whatever the statement was or the substance of the statement, that does not reflect my view, and others can sign in on it. The purpose of that is just to have the minutes accurately reflect what occurred in the board meeting, and what can be reasonably assigned to the board or reasonably assigned to individual members of the board.
Okay. Thank you for your advisement. Madam Chair, we can go with the vote, but I do want to state for the record that that statement is not a statement that reflects my opinion as a board member. I believe it was the opinion of that board member, and I think the record should say that if I need to add it during the vote, I don't mind, or do you think I should take a vote to the table?
We'll yield for advisement to take it to the vote?
Yes.
Okay, so you need to amend the minutes.
Madam Chair, I move that we amend the minutes of tonight's board meeting on June 13, 2023, to state that the statement under item 8.01 was that of one board member and not the total board, as in we were misrepresented, or the board was misrepresented as a board. The position that came before us was misrepresentation.
Okay, there's a motion.
That is a motion.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor to accept the minutes for the June 13th meeting with a correction to the 8.01 section that indicates the statement that was made about misrepresentation not be reflective of this entire board, but only of one individual. It's been properly seconded by Commissioner Clyburn. We'll open the floor for question or discussion, and then we'll move forward with the vote. Are there any questions or discussions? Commissioner Lomanak?
I don't have any problem with the motion. I think I'm the one that said it. I don't see where it is under 8.01.
If you remind me responding,
yes.
I'm sure it's on record as far as the archives, but it can be probably put it out there.
What are you, it doesn't say it in the minutes, though. There's nothing in the minutes that says what you're ascribing to me, so what are we amending in the minutes is my question.
What he's amending, Commissioner Lomanak, is he's adding to the minutes that a statement that was made, that it reflect being that of one board member and not the entire board. So it's going to be added into the minutes. It's so that it is an amendment because we're adding something into the minutes to clarify a statement that was said that it shows that's not the reflection of the board. That's why he's asking for us to amend it.
So he's adding to it. There's nothing in it currently that mentions any of that, correct?
He's asking that we provide clarification in the minutes of that statement being made by a individual board member and not the entire board.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay. Any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. And remember, we are approving the minutes with the amendment. We didn't do 3. We voted on 3. Okay. Okay. Let the record reflect that the motion did pass. The minutes was approved with 5 yeas and 2 abstentions. We'll now move on to 9.5, which was pulled separately, which is the workers' compensation property casualty insurance coverage. That was pulled by Commissioner Devine because he does need to recuse himself because he serves on that board. So at this time, are there any questions or discussions in that item? First, I need approval, a motion.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve 9.05 contract extension, workers' compensation property casualty insurance coverage.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Bishop to approve 9.5. It's been seconded by Commissioner Clyburn. We'll open the floor for any question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect that the motion did pass. The vote is 6 yeas and 1 abstent. We're not present for the vote is Commissioner Devine. We'll now move on to 9.4, which is the contract extension for temporary school psychologist staff and services. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Bishop, second by Commissioner Clyburn. We'll open the floor for question or discussion, starting with Commissioner Lomanak.
Thank you, Chairman Harris. I've noticed, and we talked about this last year, we've gone up threefold just in the amount we're spending in the last 3 years. How many current psychologist vacancies do we have?
Looking at folks that we have available, Dr. Hagwood, do you have that information? Okay.
Good evening. We currently have 6 psychologist vacancies.
And I think last year was about that number. How did it go? And I don't know if it's the exact same companies that we used over this past school year, but how did it work to use temporary psychologists, and were we able to meet all the needs that the 6 vacancies created?
We had very good results on our timelines, which is how we measure whether we're doing well or not. And then we were able to evaluate the students that came along or that were referred. We're continuing with summer evaluations, so I think we're in pretty good shape if these contracts are approved.
And are most of these companies the same ones that we contracted with last year?
I would have to verify. Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Harris.
Absolutely. Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, hearing none, we'll call for the vote. Thank you so much. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous. The contract extension for the temporary school psychologist staff and services has been approved. We'll now move on to 9.9, which is an extension for the MOA to provide school resource officers with the City of Columbia. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Bishop, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll now open the floor for question or discussion, beginning with Commissioner Lomanet.
Thank you, Chairman Harris. And this really applies to both, so I don't need to repeat them. But do we get data from both the City of Columbia Police Department and the County Police Department about interactions with children and reporting about demographic data, arrest data? What was the impetus for the interactions? Because when we're talking about school safety, it seems like the board, it'd be nice to get a report of that each year so that we could look at that and see if there are any inequities in terms of arrests from school to school or racial disparities, which I know there are, because I've looked at that data before and I'm sure it didn't change in the last year.
Dr. Wiswell.
Ms. Brown?
Good evening. Yes, we do get that data.
And could the board get a report at the end of each year, kind of summarizing that data so that we'd have a sense, especially, and I'm not gonna, I'm gonna vote yes on this, but I just mean, it would be nice before next year to have a report on how this past year went, how many arrests there were, if, are we decreasing the number of arrests, and if so, how? Because obviously, the minute a kid gets involved in the juvenile justice system, their chances of graduating high school go down. But obviously, sometimes that's necessary too, right? So, but we don't have any of that information to be thinking about that as we talk through these issues throughout the year.
Yes, we can provide that information to leadership, and they can pass it on. And also, part of our MOU contract is part of annually that each law enforcement agency provide us with data.
Right. And let me clarify, we receive that data. We get it around August, so, yes, August, we get the data on the previous year. They have to run reports too, so we don't get it soon as school year is over, but we do receive that data. Yeah, because I recall seeing that. Yeah. Okay. Any additional questions? Okay. Thank you so much. Oh,
Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chair. We did notice that there's a percentage increase specifically for the Sheriff's Department. And can you tell us why there was an increase?
Yes.
Mr. Garland?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The county is attempting to increase all county staff 4%. It won't take effect till January.
Okay.
And we asked for specific individual SROs for each school and what their pay is, because they have a range of 45 to 60,000. So we need to get that list so we know what the increase is actually going to be come January.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Ms. Carla.
absolutely. If there are no further questions or comments, we can call for the vote at this time. Thank you so much, Ms. Brown. Let the record reflect the MOA to approve the school resource officers for the City of Columbia has been approved and the vote is unanimous. We will now move on to 9.10, which is the contract extension to provide school resource officers for Richland County Sheriff Department. What's the pleasure of the board?
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers and second by Commissioner Devine. We will open the floor for question or discussion. Okay. Commissioner Lomanak, your question was answered previously,
Yes,
correct? Okay.
yes.
We'll call for the vote at this time. Let the record reflect the contract to provide school resource officers for Richland County Sheriff Department. The vote was 6 yeas and 1 abstention. That abstention is by yours truly, because my son is a Richland County Sheriff's deputy. And even though he works for the Sheriff Department, I don't want any conflict of interest, so just want to share that. We'll now move on to the next section, which is the Office of Operations. 10-1 is a contract for multifunctional copier equipment services lease. Ms. Outing.
Madam Chair, members of the board, Dr. Witherspoon, the administration is requesting approval to award a contract to Sharp Business Solutions of Greenville, South Carolina, and Ontario Investments of East Syracuse, New York, to provide multifunctional copier equipment services lease. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
Been moved by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Clyburn. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Commissioner Devine?
Same question I had last time regarding the last contract. Is there a increase in cost for these services?
There is a slight increase based on the need to get machines and copiers and the supply and demand of the actual equipment. So we negotiated with the contractor to provide increase of 5.3%
All right.
from the
And,
previous 5 years.
all right, thank you for that. And were there any small or minority businesses that provide this same service?
No, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Absolutely. Any additional questions? Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous. The multifunctional copier equipment service lease agreement has been approved. Thank you so much, Ms. Outing. We'll now move on to the Office of Human Resources. With 11-1, our HR personnel updates. Dr. Long.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners, and Dr. Witherspoon. The HR personnel updates were provided for you all during executive session as information.
Okay, this is an informational item. The floor is open for any question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will move on to 11-2, which is the administrative hire. Dr. Long.
The administration recommends hiring Sybil Major Murphy to the position of Secondary Virtual School Program Coordinator in the Office of Learning Environments for the 23-24 academic year. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Clyburn. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the vote did pass. There are 6 yeas and 2 abstentions for the administrative hire 11.2. 11.3, administrative hire. Dr. Long.
The administration recommends hiring Rhonda Simmons to the position of Assistant Principal at John P. Thomas Elementary School for the 23-24 year. The administration so recommends.
Heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval. Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers and second by Commissioner Clyburn. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect, the motion did pass, 5 yeas and 2 abstentions for the administrative hires previously mentioned in 11.3. We'll now move to 11.4, administrative hire.
The administration recommends hiring Wilfred Rogers for the position of assistant principal at the Olympia Learning Center for the 23-24 year. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Myers, second by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the administrative hires previously mentioned in 11.4 has been approved with 5 yeas and 2 abstentions. We'll now move to 11.5, which is the hiring of personnel. Dr. Long.
The administration recommends hiring the teachers on the attached list for the 23-24 year. There are 20 teachers listed. The administration so recommends.
You've heard the recommendation of the administration. What's the pleasure of the board?
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
Second.
It's been moved by Commissioner Devine, second by Commissioner Clyburn. We're now open the floor for question or discussion. Commissioner Devine.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Witherspoon, when we hire retirees back to our district, is there any decrease in salary or any salary adjustments for hiring retirees?
We, Commissioner Devine, members of the board, several years ago, when we hired back retirees, it was at the 90% point. Several years back, maybe 4 to 5 years ago, the board approved that going to 95%. And what is embedded in the budget that we will present for third reading moves that to 100%.
All right. Very good. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr.
Any
Witherspoon.
additional questions? Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Let the record reflect the hiring of personnel has been approved and the vote is unanimous. Thank you so much, Dr. Long.
You're welcome.
We'll now move on to the office of the board with 12.1, which is the appointment of gym naming committee presented by myself. You all are in receipt of a letter dated June 22nd to myself in regards to the renaming of the Southeast Middle School's gymnasium. And it reads, Commissioner Harris, my name is Tony Reese Tucker, and my family has been part of the Southeast Middle School family for the past 3 years. For the last 2 years, my sons have been a part of the football team under the guidance of Coach Theodis Oates. Coach Oates' unwavering dedication and commitment to the young people of Lower Richland community has been nothing short of amazing, having led our team to 2 back-to-back middle school championship games. He has spent decades coaching and pouring into the lives of his students past and present. Because of his commitment to Southeast Middle School and the Lower Richland community, myself, along with the parents from the football team, asked that the Southeast Middle School Gymnasium be renamed to honor Coach Theodis Oates, whom you all know passed. We funeralized him on today. Although Coach Oates is no longer with us in the physical form, renaming the gym will allow him to remain an integral part of the Southeast Middle School family and honor him for his countless years of service to the school and the athletic department. Thank you, Ms. Tony Reese Tucker. At this time, I am asking the board if there is a motion. Commissioner Myers, I'm sorry.
Chair, I move that the chair appoint a committee for the naming of the gym of Southeast Middle School.
Second.
There's a motion on the floor made by Commissioner Myers, has been seconded by Commissioner Devine. We'll open the floor at this time for question or discussion. Seeing none, hearing none, we will call for the vote. Commissioner Devine. Let the record reflect the vote is unanimous and the appointment of the gym naming committee privileges to the board chair has been granted. Let me just say this to the board. We will return to our next meeting to name that committee so that they can begin this process. At this time, we'll move on to 12.2, which is our board report. This is where a board member can speak to their involvement in the district and community events. We do participate in chat with the chairs, but we're not doing any chats right now because our kids are home. But we do lunch buddies and several other things throughout the school year. But there are community events as well that this board continues to be involved in, that we are impacting our community as a whole. So we'll open the floor at this time for any reports from any board member. Commissioner Lomanak?
Thank you, Chairman Harris. Dr. Witherspoon, I've gotten a few folks who are working in our summer school programs reach out and ask whether we have worked out the kinks from the last summer or two about payroll. And they wanted my assurance everything was going to be fine. I told them that's not my role. Can you assure our summer school teachers and staff that the issues that happened the last two summers will not reoccur this year? I think this week is the first paycheck week.
Thursday is the first payday, and what I can assure is that we did have issues, and I shared this last year with, certain departments worked fine last year with no issues. As a report that HR and finance did give, and as well as communication that I did send out, was that where issues did arise, it was noted on payday that said information that was needed to generate pay was not there. So what we have done has been troubleshooting that as to why things weren't there. And there have been additional staff secured as we head into this first payday and others to make sure everybody that is working, their information is indeed in the system accordingly. From across the board, they've done spot checks since we've started the summer program. Pay is due on Thursday, and we do feel confident that said concerns have been addressed. But again, I will emphasize again, there were at least three shops last year that did not have issues. So those kinks where there were issues have been worked out, and we look for an effective and efficient payday this Thursday.
Great, thank you.
Any additional reports from any board member? Commissioner Devine?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Couple things on my desk real quick, and I'll be short and quick. Want to give a shout out to a Richland 1 graduate of Keenan High School, class of '93, that recently produced a book, his third or fourth book, by our very own Dr. Aaron Bishop, for such a time as this. This most recent book came out last Thursday. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
And has a couple book signings around the local area as well as around the country. Actually, he's going to have some book signings around the country. So we want to congratulate him, a product of this school district who has done well, who has served this community well. So we say job well done to you, Dr. Bishop. Thank you so much for what you do in this community, and now what you do on the national and soon to be international level as well.
Amen to that.
So yes, sir.
Right.
So let's give him a round of applause, y'all.
Thank you all. Thank you. Thank you, James.
Yes, sir. And Dr. Witherspoon, as we look to close this school year out, we have about 3-4 more days. I don't want to steal your thunder. I'm sure that you will provide us some guidance after we come back from the break that's well needed. I just want to say to you and your staff, kudos to the things that we've seen that happen thus far. I remember when you talked about pandemic to progress, you talked about rebound and recovery, and just how our scores dipped, but yet they rebounded. One was ELA. We dipped a little bit, but we also rebounded. Math dropped a little bit, but we also rebounded. And so we look forward to those scores coming up this year. We thank you for the various programs that we have in our district, from language immersion to our MSAP Magnet School program, Summer SOAR, Thrive Richland. Over 3,000 books were distributed. I'm sure that's going to be an increase this year, we hope. 3K expansion. The Superintendent Book Club went from $500,000 the last school term to now over $1 million this school term. We saw kindergarten gains, dual enrollment increased over 40%, graduation rate was over 86%. We have work-based learning, we increased our social work, it's in the social work department. We also had partnerships with Prisma Health, 100 Black Men in Greater Columbia, who have provided over 10,500 hours of mentorship programs for our school district. And those are just a few items that you've dealt with over this last year. And so we thank you for your leadership. We look forward to you providing to us, the board providing the strategic vision of Richland One next 2 to 3, 5, 10 years from now. My questions would be, what's our next frontier? Where is it that we want to go as an organization? Where is it that where we want to be as a school district? And then what can we do as a board to get out of the way to allow you to pursue those items? Because we provide the vision, you take care of the mission, yet with the guardrails on either side. And you're the bus driver, as you like to say. We're trying to get to California, but we may not get to California the first year, but we may get to Louisiana, Mississippi, Texas, but we're on our way. So in other words, we're making growth and progress, but we may not get there right away. So we look forward to those strategic vision things that you are going to provide for us. And then, Dr. Witherspoon, I brought with me tonight this South Carolina profile graduate. As the world has changed since COVID, my question is, what is this South Carolina profile of South Carolina graduate? What does that look like? And some things that we've heard, and you've heard it, micro-credentialing for our young people from elementary, middle, and high school. How do we then get them prepared for the real world of works? We know everybody's not going to college. Again, college and career ready. How do we make that happen? Again, AI is real popular, and Brother Bishop has talked about that several times on this board, how important AI is to our young people, and just how computer skills are important to what we do. So again, we want to make sure that how do we scale up Hayward Career Center? How do we use that asset in our community? How do we continue to use the Challenger Center to continue to propel us to continue to be one of the top districts, if not in the state, I think in the country. And Chairwoman Harry, you know this, as we travel, we see other districts, people look to Richland One as a leader. We were one of the first districts, I think in the state, back here in the 90s that had, I think, is it long distance learning? Distance learning. And we were one of the first in the state. We were first told no by the State Department. But there were some board members at the time who pushed to make sure that we had distance learning at the time. And now it's here. It's virtual learning now is what we call it. So we were one of the first ones to put in foreign languages in elementary schools. And I remember that. And that was so important to make sure that our students get what they need across this district. So again, as we look forward to the new school year, your strategic vision for the next 2, 4, 5, 10 years down the road, I'm looking forward to that as we come back. And again, I think we had a good year as we end next 3 days. We appreciate the service that you provided and look forward to your leadership after July 1. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Devine, and we certainly echo all of your sentiments, and I'll talk more when I get to my report. Are there any additional reports? Commissioner Weston?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you very much. I spoke last time about the meals. Didn't get a follow-up, but was so impressed that free meals for children age 18 and younger, pickup meals Mondays from 9 a.m. at Hopkins Elementary School only, so that in the country you can actually go one place, pick up the meals, and especially grandparents have been calling to say, thank you for listening. So thank you very much for listening.
Absolutely. Did you want to respond to that? Dr. Witherspoon?
Madam Chair, members of the board, a response was given at the last meeting about the information that Commissioner Weston had left as a phone message and had you to get back with folks. Since that time, we did expand the meal pickup, and that had to be a waiver granted by the USDA and supported by the state, and then allowing us to do that. But there was a report, there was a response given.
Absolutely. Any additional reports? Commissioner Clyburn?
Thank you, Chairwoman Harris. I did have a report.
Sometimes these are sad occasions, but on this particular occasion, I just wanted to mention A Life Well Lived by Mrs. Elise Jones Martin. She was an advocate of Richland One, longtime serving in the community. She passed away at 108 years old, passing at her daughter's home in Palo Alto, California on June 1. She was she was hired by the superintendent then, Mr. C.A. Johnson, to teach cosmetology at Booker T. Washington High School in 1940. She owned several beauty salons in the downtown Columbia area for over several decades. She served to help organize her precinct organization, or her precinct in her community until 93 years of age. And just a couple of awards that she was given and honors. Outstanding, she was Richland County School District 1's Outstanding Service Award for Volunteer Services at W.A. Perry Middle School. She received the Key to the City of Columbia, and she was also honored by my organization, my sorority, Delta Sigma Theta sorority. And so those were just a few of the honors and awards that she has been given over the years. And she was a personal friend of mine, so I just wanted to just mention her life. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, Commissioner Clyburn, for that report. Any additional reports at this time? Commissioner Bishop?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Shouts out to JD. Thank you, Jamie Devine, for humbly accept your acknowledgement, brother. I appreciate that. You know, serving with this guy for 12 years, man, you know, you develop great friendships. And it's good to get flowers or acknowledgement from your peer. I really appreciate that, brother. Want to bring up a few things I think I wrote down. Yeah, I went to an energy town hall meeting today. And Jamie, you're spot on as far as the new frontier. We've been known in the South as the Bible Belt, but we're now becoming known as the Battery Belt. There's a lot of companies besides Scout and Volvo that are setting their businesses or their companies or divisions here. And we have to ask ourselves, are we in alignment with that? And one of the presentations that they gave us was in 1901 in New York City. They showed us a very heavily trafficked street. And it was all horses in one car. And then 13 years later, it was all cars and one horses. And so they were showing us that in a matter of 13 years, this type of change can happen with electric vehicles being everywhere and anywhere. And so, Dr. Witherspoon, not only are we trying to create those program pathways for our students to get into that manufacturing of batteries and electric vehicles, but if you look at the footprint of Richland One, we got schools everywhere throughout the community. And it would be very creative that as we think about solar panels, that we may need to consider fueling charging stations where we are those gas pumps of electricity in our community. I think that'll be, something that we could possibly look as far as an energy reimbursement opportunity, because there are some opportunities where that is being established. And so when we look at the footprint of Richland One, and our gas stations are everywhere at every school, and guess what? Kids gonna drive cars as well. They're gonna have to charge up their cars as well. So will our staff, our teachers, our employees. I think that would be very transformational. Also, I saw that there was a lot of awareness around Juneteenth. And the city of Columbia, I believe, recognizes it as also a national holiday. Juneteenth is Wednesday, Dr. Long, of next year. So as we look at these calendars, I would like to have a discussion with our calendar next year that Richland 1 acknowledges Juneteenth for our staff and our district. So I'm just throwing it out there. And also, one last acknowledgement, there was a student who did his whole career of education, and then he went on to like a semi-pro basketball league named Jake Ortman. He was an outstanding athlete at Keenan High School, and he just got signed to the NBA this past week. So congratulations to the Gortman family on your child's success, who is now an NBA player coming out of Richland 1. Let me tell it.
What high school?
Angela, what high school, Angela?
Is that
Lower
W.J.
Richland.
Keenan?
Lower Richland.
Was it W.J. Keenan?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Bloodline.
It was a rating.
We allowed y'all to borrow him. If his family was to come tonight, they would let you know he was borrowed. But we still proud because that's Richland 1 strong.
Richland 1 strong.
That's Richland 1 strong. Okay. Any additional reports? Okay. Few things here. Let me start by asking that we pause for a moment of silence. That is twofold, and I'll explain. We lost a 7-year-old young girl last week, gun violence. And then we lost a 37-year veteran to this district by the name of Coach Theodis Oates. So I'm gonna ask that we pause for a moment of silence, and we'll talk a little bit more afterwards. Thank you so very much. You know, I heard my colleague, I believe it was Commissioner Devine, talk about the bereaved families that we deal with in our district. And it's nothing worse, as I tell people all the time, than to lose a student. It's a different kind of hurt for a district. Even though that child doesn't live in our house, they do live in our house. They're in our schoolhouse. So our prayers are with the Greenview Elementary family and this young lady's family as funeral services are being arranged at this time. On today at 12 o'clock, we funeralized Mr. Theodis Oates. He was one of 2 of the remaining original employees in Southeast Middle School. So now we have just 1 left that was there the day we opened the door at Southeast Middle School. And I cannot begin to talk enough about his impact on the community because after he passed, my phone rung off the hook from parents, from his coworkers, his colleagues, and just regular members of the community wanting to honor this man for his work. Coach Oates was a silent giant. And those, in my opinion, are some of the most dangerous because you can't figure out their thought process. But I thank Dr. Witherspoon and our chief of staff that accompanied us today at that service. The room was full of his former students, coaches that he coached, that are now coaching in Richland 1, students that have played under him. And as it was said today, when Coach Oates won the district championship in basketball, you all but thought he had won the NBA finals because it was that big of a deal to him. And I was talking to his wife, and I was thanking her, as we always tell families, how much we appreciate her loaning Coach Oates to us, because Coach Oates worked for us since '87. He retired. Dr. Witherspoon, he came back. Then he retired again, and he came back. And sometimes when we're talking about retention, you know, I have to celebrate those that want to stay. Coach Oates could not get enough of Richland 1, and when you talk to him, it was never about money. It was about the impact he was making on the lives of the children. And as the assistant principal, June Page, said so eloquently today, she said, we don't realize young people want structure and they want discipline and they need somebody to show them and guide them. And that's who Coach Oates was to our young people in this community. So to our Southeast Middle School family who is grieving, we'll get through this by the grace of God, and to his wife and his children, we'll get through this. This is a hard loss for that school because the average person that works there at some point in time has come in contact with Coach Oates. And to Ms. Ferguson, who served there with him, I can only imagine the hurt that you all feel for losing what I call a giant in our community. So, you know, let's remember that when we lose these individuals, it's not just their families that's grieving. This district is grieving as well. That creates another vacancy for us, Dr. Long. Let me move on. Had the opportunity, guys, to be a part of the Cynthia Hardy Show on Sunday morning. And me and Mr. Bob Bachman, who serves on that committee, Miss York, was there along with our former mayor, Bob Coble, along with inductee Regina Brown from Prisma Health. Great interview, a very effective interview that talked about the power of the Hall of Fame. But I have to give a shout out to a young man by the name of Dr. Ronald Epps, because when he first came to this district 20 years ago, he was blown away at what this district was producing, Commissioner Devine, not just on a local level, but on an international level. And this is what led to the Hall of Fame's inception. And it just happened that there was a TIF, which is a tax interception, to build a new convention center that we call the Columbia Metropolitan Convention Center. And there were folks such as the Honorable Vince Ford that said, fine, we'll allow you to intercept our tax dollars, but Richland 1 gets a room there. And as you all have seen, when you go there, you see our regalia that is on display, and this wonderful room that shows all of the 96 individuals that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. And we're in process again, because on next year we will celebrate 20 years. And the Hall of Fame belongs to the 7 board members that you see sitting at this table. This is our event. So I encourage my colleagues to be involved and be there for the next celebration as we celebrate being out here for 20 years, honoring some major players that have done some amazing things in South Carolina and beyond. And I think I've got to go on Don Frierson too. Y'all just, wow, yield some of the stuff to Commissioner Bishop. Then I had the opportunity on the 15th to attend the faith-based luncheon.
Yes.
And I'm going to say to my colleagues, you all do not know what you are missing when you do not attend these events. Commissioner Bishop was there with me, and he will tell you our young people did an amazing job. And at the end, we met Aretha Franklin, Tina Turner, and Shirley Caesar. We had a wonderful time with our young people, but also with our faith-based partners, letting them know how much we appreciate them. And I want to thank Dr. Tracy Cooper, Dr. Witherspoon, for the hard work that went into preparing that event. I was a little nervous getting in the buffet line because we were trying something we had never done before, but it was a breaking bread event. So trust me, we were breaking bread. We had a cornucopia that we had to put our food in, and I was smart enough to tell everybody, just find a child and do what the child do. What they put in theirs, you put in yours too. But it was a great event. It was a great time had by all. A lot of those faith-based partners, Dr. Witherspoon, have reached back out to me on how they can even further support this district. And I think it's a blessing to have so many pastors within our community and footprint that believe in this district. Dr. Bishop, you mentioned Juneteenth is on a Wednesday, and I just want to share with you that the board calendar is approved. The calendar is approved by the board, and there's always an opportunity to make a friendly amendment to that calendar. So if there's something that you want, because I know you're the watchdog of the calendar, you keep it straight for Thanksgiving and Christmas to make sure we don't mess up. So I appreciate you bringing that to our attention. And I think that if there's a friendly amendment that we need to make and talk about, let me know. We can add that to our next board meeting or one to come. And then we are talking about a call meeting. I know that there is some information that was requested by Commissioner Lomanak, and I don't know the window of time that is going to take, Ms. Matthew Hazel. If we can have that information tomorrow, we will try to pull off a call meeting. So I'm asking my colleagues to please have some space and some time available somewhere in there in case we need to do a 12 o'clock lunch call meeting to approve our budget. We won't try to hit you with too much of a surprise. Right now, we were banking on Thursday at noon. But in the event that doesn't happen, we may have to pull a Friday at noon. So let me just throw those two dates out there. Of course, Eva will poll you to find out how many can attend, to ensure that we have a quorum, so that we can approve our budget. We won't be here long. And Dr. Witherspoon, we are also asking of you, as we start working towards our next work session. I think we had a very healthy discussion today around retention. I think that conversation needs to continue. I think in echoing the sentiments of my colleagues, I think all 7 of us feel the same, that we do need to challenge ourselves with coming up with a solution that's going to be viable, that's going to be in the best interest of all parties involved. But I'm asking that we do look at the calendar, establish a retention discussion in a work session, as well as the priority schools. That data was given to us at our last work session. We didn't get a chance to deep dive, and we've now closed another school year. I think it is important that we pause and talk about the priorities list and those schools that have been placed on the priority list from the previous school year, not the 22-23, but the 21-22 school year. I think we need to discuss that so that everyone understands where we are. We don't want data to get confused, misconstrued, or conflicted, that this is the data off of this current school year, but that this data is from the previous school year and what has been put in place. There was a plan that was submitted to the State Department, and I think that we need to make sure that we have a discussion around that. So we'll be getting together on a work session for that. And then Commissioner Devine, are there any updates on that evaluation, instrument or meeting?
So, no, ma'am, but let me just ask this while we're here with the folk that's here. We come back the week of the 10th, I think it is. I think we prefer to do an evening meeting. Ms. Wilson, if you would help remind me when we come back the week of the 10th, if you would poll the 3 board members, I think if we can do a 6 o'clock meeting, I think would be good. We're gonna have 2 meetings, is that correct? Need 2 meetings?
We have to go through two.
2 meetings, I think.
Yes.
So we can go ahead and select 2 dates in the month of July, so we can report out by August. The second board meeting in August would be great. It's 3 board meetings, myself, Mr. Lomanak, and Ms. Clyburn. If you would just send us a doodle poll or what's a good date that we can meet. And I apologize, Madam Chair, I've been traveling out of town on
We
vacation, so.
understand. You got a new college kid, so we do understand.
Yeah, so if you would just bear with us, we made the request now,
Absolutely.
and we will get that done in the month of July. If folk are traveling, we understand that, so we can just work around that. But I want to get you something by August, if possible.
Thank you so
Okay.
very much.
Ms. Clyburn, Mr. Lomanak, we good with those? Okay, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, and then one last announcement that I want to mention and invite the members of this board to. I work very closely with the Lower Richland Alumni Foundation, and this organization has been very adamant about providing opportunities in the rural portion of our community. They're in the process of launching free piano and voice lessons, a drummer's academy photography, project lead, which is a partnership with Richland County Sheriff Department, and possibly going to also be the City of Columbia, along with tutoring centers, Dr. Witherspoon, that's going to span across our district. As a matter of fact, there's a tutoring center that they have right now in the town of Eastover, where they're working with about 38 students in that community at one of our centers down there to give them some summer enrichment. But on July the 8th, they will launch the first ever esports league in Richland County. And those leagues will be housed at the Eastover, Gaston, Bluff Road, and Kaufman Road Park. And anyone knows anything about gaming, gaming is big. Benedict College right now has a esports league and a major coach. So it's something big, and I'm very excited to be a part of what's next, Commissioner Bishop. As you said, there are college scholarships and everything else connected to esports. So we're excited for this foundation providing these kind of opportunities to our young people for free, that they can have resources in their backyard versus having to drive always to the city. But they're able to do some things there within their community. So if you're free, they're going to be doing a major launch on that day. They will kick off at 10 o'clock at the Eastover Park, and they will be on tour across those 4 parks until 2 o'clock that afternoon. So if you have an opportunity, we welcome you to come and join us at any of those locations, because this is a very big deal, and it's a very big deal because it's our children. So we want to make sure that we put an invite out there to all of you. And then on July the 15th, that same organization will be having Commissioner Bishop and Commissioner Clyburn, Raiders. They will be having their Black and Gold Gala. And this is a major event as well that is hosted at the Columbia Convention Center, and it's a fundraiser. Dr. Witherspoon, I know you and Ms. Sherry Matthew Hazel is aware. The money that is raised not only goes into scholarships for students from Lower Richland, but they also provide teacher grants to teachers within the community. And I want to make sure I give these guys a plug because they don't look for credit. They just do the work. But I want to give them credit because they don't have to have a passion for Richland One, but they do. And as I heard one say so eloquently on Soder City this week, I'm giving back to the district that gave me everything. And I think that's a powerful statement. So if you're free on July the 15th, get your ticket, get your ball gown and a tuxedo. No, you got them because we do Hall of Fame in Richland One. Come out and join us. You do not have to be an alumni of Lower Richland Raiders. Feel free to come. Just wear black instead of blue. But we would love to have you all come and celebrate. They've got a great band that's coming to perform. They're going to be honoring 3 great people that I'm quite sure you all know. One's by the name of Senator Darrell Jackson, Sheriff Leon Lott, and Pastor Sammy Wade. Only pastor I know that's got 2 churches in Lower Richland. But they're honoring these 3 individuals for their contributions to the community and to our young people at large. And then they're going to be giving out Alumni in Action Awards to Stanley Roy Latson, who's an employee of this district, but he is also an international recording artist. That's right, we got singing talent in this district as well. They'll be honoring Liz Porty. They'll be honoring Deborah Grant. They'll be honoring Hank Burris, the injury lawyer out of Lugoff Elgin, who is also a graduate of Lower Richland High School. But last but not least, they will be honoring a young lady by the name of Deborah Fleming Bradley. And if anyone knows anything about Planet Marketing, you know who she is. She is I'm going to call her all but a billionaire, but she is a product of this district, and she is proud to be from this district. She lives in Atlanta, and her husband and her head up a major marketing company there. But those individuals will be honored at this event. So feel free to come out and join us on July the 15th at the Columbia Metropolitan Convention Center. Are there any additional reports? Commissioner Bishop?
And again, that's the black, blue, and gold?
We can throw the blue in there.
Oh, okay, just was a little confused.
Yeah.
Madam Chair, but in all seriousness, and you're the chair, this call board meeting, if it is just the approval of the budget, is there a possibility, or is it in legal right to do a virtual call board meeting?
We don't, right.
Just something to consider, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Boy, I tell you. You know, you would think that I would be the one complaining because I have the furthest to drive, right? Miss Alden and Miss Wilson. And, oh, wait a minute, and Miss Weston. Oh, wait a minute, and Miss Myers. You know, but we're okay with coming to do what we need to do. We would just make sure that we make it convenient for everybody, Commissioner Bishop. We will do that to make sure that it is convenient for everybody. And I appreciate that.
I mean, if it's just one item, Madam Chair.
It-
Oh, it's
it-
two items, so you come on down to SAB, everybody.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. We appreciate it. Are there any additional reports from any board member at this time? Again, Dr. Witherspoon, as Commissioner Devine has said, we're closing out the school year. Thank you for your leadership. And thank all of Team Richland 1 for all of your hard work, your dedication, and what you've done every day, all day for the students that we serve. We appreciate you and we thank you. At this time, we'll move on to the Office of the Superintendent with the Superintendent's Report 1301.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. And I too just want to say thank you to this board for your leadership and vision. And as you've said, and this board has said, you all, hey, Mr. Superintendent staff, you might want to look at A, B, C, and D. We look at it. And then we come back and, again, to the car or the vehicle analogy and getting from point A to point B, we still strive to get to a certain place, Commissioner Devine, even though you have roadblocks and detours and the bridge is out, bumps in the road, and all of those things. We do continue to move the organization. And I too want to thank Team Richland 1. Certainly those individuals that are here at this meeting and up and down and throughout this organization for all of the hard work as we look to achieve the vision of this board, the mission that we are trying to accomplish, knowing that each and every one is a part of that. So I want to thank everyone associated with this district as we close out this year. And lastly, in this regard, as you mentioned, strategic plan, amazingly enough, that time has rolled around again. So next year, we will, our strategic plan went from 19 to 24. So in year 24, we will be looking at the process of updating our strategic plan moving forward. And I'm sure that's what you had in mind with your comments. So we look forward to again, those focus groups and all of the feedback and input up and down and across our organization and our community as we move that forward. So thank you again, everyone, this board, and everyone associated with Richland 1. In addition to the meals that are being served to children at 27 Summer Source sites, our nutrition services team is offering a meal pickup option on Mondays only at Hopkins Elementary School. The meal pickups began yesterday, June 26. Families with children age 18 and younger can pick up 5 days' worth of free meals at Hopkins Elementary on Mondays from 9 to 11 a.m., except from Monday, July 3rd, when there will be no pickups because our schools will be closed for the 4th of July holiday. Yesterday's meal pickup included 10 days' worth of meals to provide enough for this week and next week due to the holiday. Details about the meal pickup options are posted on our website at richland1.org, and parents who have questions or need additional information may contact Nutritional Services at 803-231-6953 or sfsp@richland1.org. And Madam Chair, again, with some questions that we got, working with the USDA and the State Department, you can't do the pickups, when we get federal dollars and all of those, Ms. Collins, Ms. Matthews, as y'all know, they come with rigs and things. So where we're serving, you can't do the pickups. So that's why that when we look at certain places and all of that has to fit together and be approved. Next, we want to remind parents that registration is still open for our traditional pre-K programs for the 2023-2024 school year. Richland 1 offers free full-day pre-K programs for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds. To enroll for next year, children must be age 3 or 4 by September 1, 2023. Parents must attend or view an information session, complete a new student registration form, and submit all required documents. For more information about pre-K registration, go to our website, richland1.org/4K, or call 803-799-9494. As I noted at our last board meeting, we are looking for male and female adult volunteers to serve as R1 champs for the 2023-2024 school year. R1 Champs volunteers provide an additional adult presence and an extra set of eyes on our campuses during the day. They greet students at the beginning of the day. They assist staff during dismissal, monitor halls during class changes, and help ensure that students report to their classes on time, and assist staff with school assemblies and special events. We are holding 5 R1 Champs training sessions this summer. All of the training sessions will be held at 6 p.m. at our Lion Street Student Services Center. The first session was held earlier this evening, June 27th. The next session is Thursday, June 29th. Other dates include July 17th, July 18th, and August 8th. And for more information about R1 Champs, again, go to our website or contact Mr. Kerry Abel at 803-231-7182 or Kerry, Kerry, .Abel, A-B-E-L, at richland1.org. Congratulations to our communications team on receiving 7 awards from the National School Public Relations Association, INSPR. The team won awards in the video, marketing, and special publications categories. Rich Owensby, who is behind the camera at tonight's meeting, won 2 awards for his video productions. We need to get you in front of the camera and hold for the picture. Award winners from across the country will be recognized on the INSPR website during the 2023 National Seminar in July in St. Louis. In May, the communications team won 14 awards for PR excellence from the state INSPR chapter. Again, congratulations to our entire communications team. As a reminder, all Richland 1 schools and administrative buildings will be closed Monday, July 3rd, and Tuesday, July 4th for the 4th of July holiday. Administrative buildings will reopen Wednesday, July 5th, but schools will be closed for the remainder of the week. And certainly, on behalf of the board and administration, we all would like to wish everyone a very safe and happy, enjoyable 4th of July holiday. Madam Chair, this concludes my report.
Thank you so much, Dr. Witherspoon, for that report. We'll open the floor for any questions or discussions about Superintendent's report. Commissioner Devine?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Dr. Witherspoon, on the R1 Champs, I noticed that we're doing it on Wednesdays.
Mm-hmm.
Is there an opportunity to do another day? Only reason is because sometimes some folk go to church on Wednesdays. Just something to consider. I'm not.
We'll talk with Ms. Abel about
Right,
the point.
just-
I understand your point. Yeah.
Okay, that was number 1. And then number 2, Commissioner Bishop and then Commissioner Harris attended the NAACP's gun violence meeting but 2 Sundays ago.
Yes.
I attended this past Sunday and wanted to say that our district was commended for what we're attempting to do with the R1 Champs, or what we are doing with the R1 Champs. So I encourage others to come out, and the solicitor's office, our solicitor, Mr. Gibson, wanted also some additional information, so I got him in touch with Mr. Abel.
Okay.
So they can discuss and have his folk come and get introduced to the R1 Champs. And then lastly, INSPRA, that you all are part of, Ms. York and Dr. Witherspoon. Wasn't you Superintendent of the Year with that organization?
Did get an award a couple years.
Wasn't he state level
state
Superintendent
level.
of the Year? That was in what year? 2017, 18? Right, so, okay. Now, I just want to let the folk know that we have also a superintendent, not taking things away from staff. We also have a superintendent of the year, which goes to show that as we provide leadership, it goes to the department. So we appreciate what you've done, Miss York, also along with Dr. Witherspoon and his leadership as well. So thank y'all for what y'all do. And also, we're gonna get a cameraman a picture, and maybe you can come up front and let us see you down
We
front
need to see
here.
the man behind the
We
camera.
want to see the man behind the camera, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Mr. Dr. Witherspoon.
Absolutely. Any additional questions for the superintendent? Okay, Dr. Witherspoon just got one. By the next board meeting, can we get an update on the Vince Ford Center, where we are right now in that process?
Yes.
All right. If there are no further question or discussion by anyone, that has exhausted tonight's agenda. We have one announcement, and that is that the next regular board meeting of the Richland 1 Board of Commissioners will be held on Tuesday, July the 25th, 2023, at 7:00 p.m. at the Stevenson Administration Building at 1616 Richland Street here in Columbia, South Carolina. If there's no objection from the board, we can consider ourselves dismissed. Have a good evening.